Hi, everybody. So we're going to get started here, and I think more people are going to start joining in as we get started. There's a bit of a curveball. Our next speaker is someone I admire a lot. He's a business magnate. He's one of the 100 most powerful Arabs in the world. He's Mishal Kanoo. And I just had a chat with Mr. Kanoo, and instead of making a standalone by himself a keynote, he wants to have a conversation. Maybe I'll pose some questions to him. And please come sit in the front as people come in, have them sit in the front, and let's have a nice conversation. I think he also wants to field some questions from you. But the topic of the conversation is why Middle East? Why it's attractive to do business here, why it's attractive to invest here in Middle East. Mr. Kanoo, please. Nice to meet you as well. So please have a seat. I think maybe the first question is, why this topic? You could have talked about anything. Why did you want to talk about this topic? It'll feed into more questions, I think.
Can you hear? Because I can't tell. Can you hear?
No? Okay, try again.
Hello? Hello? Okay. First, thank you for the invitation. I'm honored to be able to talk, hopefully, to young boys and girls, well, and not so young boys and girls, with the idea about investing in this part of the world. And the reason investing is important, because that's an instrument of growth. That's what's going to cause people to want to come and see other aspects of this part of the world. This part of the world, the region, is still a mystery for a lot of people. They still think of us, I'm sad to tell you that there are still some people who think of us as desert and camels.
Yeah.
But
how wrong they are, but...
I'd like to be able to say,
This is going to make it easier for you.
Okay, is it? Okay.
Is it better?
I can't tell. Oh, yes, I can actually tell. The thing I enjoy about coming and talking about this region is because it's an easy subject for me. I've grown up all my life over here. I've seen this whole region grow from something which was small and insignificant, if you want, to become such an important part on the world map. But the problem a lot of people have is a fear factor. There's a huge fear factor, the unknown factor, as in, what's there? What can I do? What can I expect? Is this something I would like to delve into and find out or not? And by coming to such events, interacting with the audience, giving them an opportunity to talk to someone who's been doing this for his life, most of my life anyway, gives me an opportunity to be able to tell what's out there and what is there a benefit for you. Because at the end of the day, if there's no benefit for someone, why on earth would someone come and do anything in any place?
Can you break down that benefits?
Sure.
Why is the Middle East an attractive market to do business in? And then let's talk about, afterwards, how one can kind of take down some of those fears and make this place look as attractive as it actually is.
One of the key benefits from this part of the world, and I'm emphasizing this, is you have people from all over the world coming here. It's not insular. It's not just people from within the region. It's global. You have people coming in from whether from the African continent, whether it's coming from North American continent, from Europe or Asia. They're all, and Australia as well. Let's not forget them.
Turkey, US.
Definitely part of the global world. The one that's picking up, by the way, is Latin America, but that's still a bit of a distance. But the rest of the region there's a lot of people coming from different parts of the world. And in some countries, there are either restrictions from a business restriction, there's a tax restriction, there are issues that they will encounter, as in you're not from the right place, not from the right, whatever the case may be. And I find the UAE is a bit unique in this aspect, as that they don't really care where you're from. There's no restriction for you in terms of coming and becoming success. I can give you case after case study. Names that you know. For example, Lulu Supermarket starts here. Shalhoub Group starts in Lebanon, but really blossoms here. And you have different people from different countries. Halliburton is an international name. decided to set its headquarters here.
Yep.
So you have all of these things happening, and the reason it's happening is because either it's the limitation in terms of taxation. There's not necessarily any government body that's out there to block you from growing and becoming successful in whatever business you're in. It becomes a question of what do you want, and what are you going to do to achieve it. So, and you have a collective body from all over the world. Whether I'm looking for people from this nationality or that nationality, I'm pretty sure in the region here, sorry, in the UAE, you will be able to find people who will fit the bill. And when you look at your customer base, if you are a consumer, we are the ideal customer. You're talking about a significant percentage, again, the numbers will change, but a significant percentage below the age of 30, huge discretionary income, brand aware. Oh, they're the perfect customer for any
Well connected.
FMCG, anything that's fast moving as a consumer good, they're ideal. And the best part, as I said, is that they have the discretionary income. So it's not just they know the brand or they like it, but they can actually go and afford to buy it.
I want to touch on the market size, and the demographics are quite attractive. MENA is $2.5 trillion. It's actually bigger than India, yet everybody talks about India.
Really?
If you add Turkey and Pakistan, it's $3.8 trillion. Very large market. But one challenge is that I hear when I go to Europe or US and talk to my business colleagues and friends is that, well, it's not really one market, is it? And they talk about how scaling a business in the Middle East is too difficult. There are still too many borders, different currencies, even different types of Arabic, right? We operate a business, our Khaliji customers don't, want to be served in Khaliji Arabic, not Egyptian Arabic, or vice versa. So you build businesses in many different sectors. How does one overcome this scaling problem across the Middle East to make this even more attractive than it is today?
Well, ideally, if my customer base is from X, country X, then I'd want to have people who represent my product or my services from the same country so that they feel comfortable with them.
Sure.
I'm not going to take somebody, we can say we're all equal and we're all the same. But the reality is everyone has a closeness and affinity towards somebody who is from within their own community or society.
Sure.
So I'm not going to fight that. Those who want to fight that and create an ideal world, I'm happy for them. But it's a harder push uphill.
Sure.
But if I know people from country X or country Y exist over there and they're the customer base, I'll give you an example. Here in Dubai, in Sharjah, it's much more Sharjah and Abu Dhabi. Originally, is much more people from the Levant and from Egypt,
Yes.
Within the Arabic population.
Sure.
So I'm going to have people who are interacting with them from the same area because it's easier for them to interact with. In Dubai, it might be much more from the subcontinent. So I will have people interacting from the same area as well.
Sure.
Not that one is better than the other. I'm just addressing what is a requirement of the customer base. As I go from country to country, and unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it because this is a restriction that is there are geopolitical reasons. Country X doesn't work with country Y. Country X has a restriction over country Y. And wherever you go in the world, you're going to have something across. I mean,
in the States, there are different states that don't like to work with each other. So
I mean,
that happens.
even if I'm talking in a country like, say, India, actually, India is not one country; it's several countries
Absolutely.
from south to north, and each one has its own nuance, and you have to be able to understand how to work with each one of them. You as a company or as an investor, you have to act as neutral. I'm neutral. I'm not selecting one over the other. I'm neutral. I have a product and or a service, and I need to provide it. And if you are willing to buy it or utilize it, ahlan wa sahlan. I'm not going to, what you call it, I'm not going to come and say, no, I don't interact with you because I don't like this or that. It makes no sense. But there are some things we have to take into consideration which we cannot overcome. There are political issues
Sure.
sometimes that we can't overcome.
Sure.
And to be intelligent enough to say, you know what, maybe I do it on the quiet. I don't parade it, I don't make a big fuss out of it, but Because eventually those political issues today that are political hardships, tomorrow become non-existent. I don't want to alienate my customer just because of a small blip in history.
Sounds great. We talked about, this is the ecosystem stage. So we're talking here about high-tech, high-growth ecosystem development. And we talked in the morning about there are 5 elements. There's the government support, there's funding, there's education, talent, culture, and access to markets. If you had to pick one of those 5 elements to say that this one matters the most to take our ecosystem to the next level, which one do you think you would pick?
The biggest problems that most of these companies here are interacting with and will experience is going down. If you want funding, funding is available. There are a lot of people here who with money and they just need to know about the story. If you're looking for government support, the government will, depending on the type of industry, will support whatever you're trying to do. Those are not the biggest problems you will encounter is going to be exit. That's your biggest problem. There's hardly a secondary market unless you're big, I mean tremendously big. Forget about external markets because they will look at a certain size.
Sure.
And for those people who have invested small amounts who want to exit, to allow others to come in, there's no secondary market for it. This is a big problem because I can't keep the thing moving. And by the way, I've spoken to other government bodies to say, you know what, you need to encourage this. You need to help create this. And they say they're looking at it. I don't know how successful they are or how proactive they're going to be. But without that part where I can release some of that captured growth in value, it's going to be harder and harder for the small retail investors to come in. I need institutional investors to shore up any company. But it's the retail investor that's going to move the dial. And if I don't have them, because there is no secondary market, there is no way of an exit, it's going to be a problem. So I'm not saying this to frighten you from whatever you're doing. No, no, no. I'm just saying that this is something you should keep in mind when you're doing whatever you're doing. By the way, the thing I'd tell you is don't focus too much on disruption. When you disrupt something, you cause chaos. What you should be focusing on is adding value by creating something in an adjunct or an auxiliary to something that already exists, because they will support you. A case in point, I met a very nice lady who was talking about a new company, and I think what she's doing is exactly the right thing. It's not disruptive. She is creating a program to support schools in teaching people Arabic.
Yep.
And I think that's the right thing to do. I'm not saying I'm disrupting by getting rid of schools. I'm saying I'm adding to schools by helping students who want a bit of support and help in this aspect. The reason I'm saying this is because we have this impression, I have to break the mold. Well, if you break the mold several times, you're not going to create anything. Because as you break it, somebody else is going to come and break it, and somebody else is going to come break it, and you don't have a chance to grow. So, just to keep that in mind.
So I like this. It's a bit contrarian to what's the typical headline.
Yeah,
invest in disruption, etc.
I seem to do this a lot. I don't know why.
So, so let's switching gears to that. Are you investing in startups?
Yes.
And what are you looking for? Now the ears perk up, right? So
I do that. I have a company specifically for that. But the problem I have encountered is I don't like investing in very new startups.
Sure.
The reason is not because they're bad, but because each one of them is a baby. And each baby needs attention. And I don't want to do that because I won't be able to do it justice. However, when they reach a point where they're looking for growth capital, and they are either cash positive, which will be great, but if not, at least they have a revenue stream and they have a business stream and something is functioning and moving, then I can come play a role. Because at that point, if I invest enough, I would like to sit on the board or the advisory to be able to help open up doors and help create more opportunities for these companies. But I don't want to babysit companies. Again, not because it's a bad thing. Everyone has a certain tolerance. I have my own businesses to run. I don't have time for it. And the last thing I want to do is overpromise and underdeliver. I'd rather do it the other way around. You know, underpromise and overdeliver, because I hopefully will be able to open up doors that others will not be able to, but only when I have a product which I can actually sell. Or service, product or service.
So what is next in your core business? I mean, you do many different sectors. Is there a certain sector that you're especially excited about in your core business? And if you're doing any investments in the high-tech front in these growth companies, any specific sector or market that you look at?
I'd like to say I'm, as far as the new businesses are concerned, sector agnostic. I need to understand the story. I need to understand what they're doing. I also need to see whether we as a business and myself personally can add value. If I can do that, then it depends on, because I don't want to shut a door, because I don't know what...
You don't even like say B2C, B2B?
I'm not going, okay, for me it's important to understand the story. The story is key. Understanding the story,
sure.
Understanding the management and the management style, and understanding the cash position they're in. If those three things are positive and resonate with me, this is something I want to look and take further. If not, I'd like to understand where am I failing or where am I missing something, and whether it's something I can recover or not. If I can, then we can stay with it, but maybe not invest at the present time, but keep an eye on it to look forward down the road. As for the current business, it is the lifeline that keeps me and my family under a roof over my head. So I need to make sure that that business continues to grow and continues to at least produce whatever it does, and do it well. There will be a time when one of these businesses, someone sitting over here, will come in and affect my business. But until that happens, I'm not going to panic about what happens in the future. I want to focus on what is current with an eye on what is coming in the future.
Sounds great. We talked about, maybe I have one more question, then maybe you can take some questions from the audience. Last question is from me. We talked about how the Middle East is actually much more attractive as a place to do business than maybe how it's perceived in some regions. How should we, and we talked about how, it is attractive. I mean, we're here, I'm doing business here, right? I choose to be here. How should we tell this story? Or what are the channels? How can we improve this perception? Outside of when you're traveling, you're doing this.
I'm a bit hesitant about responding to that one, because there are certain things that are outside the business community that are affecting people's perception. So putting that aside, the only thing that's going to attract people in terms of investing is returns. So if you benefit from it, you're going to come to it.
Okay.
I'm sad to tell you, money is a coward. So the more it can find something that benefits itself, money itself, it's going to flow towards it. There is also the human element. I am comfortable in places that I am used to. Meaning, I'm happy, I'd be more than happy to invest in the subcontinent. I'm happy to invest in Turkey. I'm happy to invest in North Africa. I'm happy to invest in certain parts of Europe, because I'm comfortable in those places, my society-wise, cultural-wise, the different aspects. It'll cause me to. Then you look at the nuance, country per country, and does it benefit or take away from what I do? This region is, again, because it is, specifically the UAE, I'll focus on the UAE, because you have people from all over the world. You can easily find a community that you're comfortable with, and you can interact with. Then the next question is, am I happy to put my money here? And as I said previously, and I still think it's going forward, this country is very open as far as you, whoever you are, coming and investing and creating and doing.
Yes.
The only caveat is don't bring your politics.
Yes.
Don't bring your politics and do what you want. Grow your business. So they're very agnostic as far as that's concerned. the more you can grow your business, the better the economy grows and benefits from it, the more you get support. And they like that. So the only encouragement I would say is unless you come to sit and see and feel and touch, it becomes harder to want to invest.
Sure.
The Expo 2020 is not Dubai's Expo 2020. It's the UAE's Expo 2020. And it could also be the regional Expo 2020.
Even beyond.
The reason I say that is because when you come over here, you'll experience what is Expo 2020. You'll experience Dubai as a city, but then you'll also see, there's a city on one side of Dubai called Sharjah. There's another city on the other side of Dubai called Abu Dhabi. There's a country which is also large. I'm not going to likely try again, but I'll go see it, which is Saudi Arabia. There's a country to the south called Oman.
Oman.
And if I'm reached Oman, look, there's a subcontinent over there. Let's just go there.
Yeah.
So you will be able to see and interact and see how large this place is because you've come here. This is key. I need you to come here, see it for yourself, and the moment you see it, you'll either say, you know what, this works for me, or it doesn't.
Amazing. Great. I think we're ready. We have a couple minutes left. Please go ahead. I don't know how we're going to... Yes, do we have a microphone for the gentleman for the question?
Thank you for the wonderful insight. I just had a question with regards to one of the points that we made with regards to new companies, one of the challenges that we face with regards to potential exits. Would you say or would you advise startups to prepare for acquisitions? Would that be a potential exit, and would you advise for that?
As far as exits are concerned, the most likely exit you're going to have is going to be a trade sale. Most likely.
That's what we've seen so far.
There is a possibility to, again, depending how big a company becomes, to have an exit in some other, I'd like to say in our region, but it's been very far and few between. But trade exit. And when you do a trade exit, dress up for a trade exit. I don't mean personally, I mean the company. Dress it up for a trade exit. Make it favorable that if I was company X and I wanted to come and buy your company, the cost of me replicating your company versus buying your company out is so attractive in terms of buying your company out versus the recreating of the wheel. Sorry. Case in point, and I think the easiest one is Amazon.com with Souk.com.
Sure.
Amazon literally has money to burn. Don't quote me on this. And they could have easily created Amazon.com themselves. But Souk.com was there. It's set up. It's attractive. It has an infrastructure that they can kit out. Okay, let me put it this way. You can build your house, which will take you a long time with a lot of headaches and contractors driving you crazy, or you can buy a built house and then bring an interior designer to refit it to your taste.
Yes.
That's what Amazon did. And I think a lot of you will see a lot of these things happen. So if I was you, I'd present myself as a fitted a house that's worth refitting or restructuring, if you want.
One last brief question. He's waving me off. He's upset with me.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Kanoo, so much. Great insights, candid conversation, and thanks for changing the format in the last minute as well. I really appreciate it. So,
thank you very much.